The Book Programme. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Joining us on the line now from the States is Liz Reynolds. She's a professional caring clown and children's writer. She's burst onto the literary scene with her first adult novel, The Purple Bowtie. A far cry from Elizabeth's children's stories about the animals of the Amazon, The Purple Bowtie is every inch an adult novel, an incredible love story that hits both the highs and lows of passion and tragedy. Welcome to the book show, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a real pleasure. It's great to have you with us. And I'm excited to be speaking to a clown. How long have you been doing that for?
Yes, I put my clown socks on this morning for you.
That's fantastic. How does one get to become a clown?
Well, it's a lot of fun. What happened to me was that my dad passed away, and I wanted to cheer myself up. So I took myself to a clown convention. They actually have conventions, and this one was in Orlando. And I learned how to become a caring clown. That's one that's kind of like a doctor clown, except you don't do the medications, you just administer humor. And then I also went to several clown camps. They have one in Minnesota run by Priscilla Mooseberger. She is a wonderful Ringling Brothers clown. And going to clown camp is so awesome, Hannah, because all you do is laugh. You're sitting around with all these great professional clowns, and they're cracking jokes. So by the time you leave, you're depressed when you go home because you've been so happy.
Oh, wow. I guess
but you really do learn a lot.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that really helped you to, not move on. You never move on, do you? But help you cope after the death of your father then.
It really did.
Yeah.
It really did. I wanted to give back to the community. And I thought this would be a great way because my dad was a doctor. So it just worked out for me.
Yeah.
And I use a lot of poetry therapy and creative movement, and I play the guitar. So all of that blends well for helping people to express themselves.
Yeah. And what a lovely thing to do, particularly being a caring clown.
Yeah, it's very fun. I also did children's parties at one time. I still do them for my grandkids. But when I was a regular clown, I was like a really dumb clown. The kids had to teach me how to do everything. I had a pet rabbit that was actually a skunk. And I didn't know my colors. So they helped me. They taught me. Kids love dumb clowns.
Oh, fantastic. So what the lovely thing about that is you're, I guess, bringing a lot of joy to them, but also for yourself it must be great fun.
It really is. It's very heartwarming. And so if I can get somebody to express themselves who hasn't spoken since they've been in a rehab center, if they actually speak words or start singing a song, it's just a wonderful feeling. And the staff gets all excited, too.
Oh, yeah, I bet. So tell me about some of the children's books that you've done.
Yeah, Saki Winky the Monkey Saves the Animals. My Spanish language has taken me on different pathways. And one of those pathways was down to the Amazon jungle. I studied Spanish in Bogota, Colombia, and during the summer, I decided to go down to the Amazon and work for a man who had a hotel business in Leticia, Colombia. And I got to meet all sorts of fabulous people, and I got to take people out into the Amazon. I was really a translator. There were real jungle guides who had lived in the jungle, and they're just fascinating. The the way they could climb the trees and pick orchids and actually jump into the water to wrestle an anaconda. I mean, wild things like that. So I wrote a book about the animals of the Amazon, and it's a fun book. The animals try to help each other escape from the animal exporter zoo. And the kids love the anaconda, Andy Anaconda, because he swallows the two monkeys that are inside the zoo and takes them out of the zoo under a tunnel, and then he regurgitates them. And kids love bathroom humor like that. So I get a lot of comments about Andy.
Oh, brilliant. So what made you decide that you wanted to write a certainly more serious adult novel?
Well, actually, I've been working on this novel for so many years. I've been using my clowning to basically pay my way as I write. But what I've been doing is engaging in a study of the imagination. I love to study fantasy, daydreaming, waking dreams, telepathic, synchronistic moments. So I study that with my patients. For example, my Alzheimer's patients are still very creative. They can do pantomime, improvisation. They love poetry, and they love to sing. So I study the imagination, and then it sparks my inspiration to write. And the book is actually about 1980s Miami. I wanted to chronicle the time of the gay rights movement when AIDS was just starting out, because it was a very difficult time for all of us. And I thought that if I did that, perhaps people could learn from it so we don't make the same mistakes again.
Yeah.
We don't hold prejudice against people and not fund a program for AIDS for many years. I'll give you an example. I worked with Dan Bradley, who came out at the time. He had worked in the Carter administration for President Carter as the head of legal services. It's a large administrative organization that helps poor people get represented in the courts. But when AIDS broke out, he decided he had to come out and go on his own. So he did. He started his own law practice in Miami. I met him through a friend, and what he was doing was trying to spread the word that AIDS was out and that especially gay men had to be very, very careful. So he was like an unsung hero of the times. He was very laid back. He just wanted to get the word out. So in the book, Lisa Robertson, the central character, leads a double life. She's the manager of a Cuban radio station in Miami. But at the same time, at night, she works with Dan Phelps, who is Dan Bradley, and they go out and advise people in the gay churches and the gay clubs about AIDS. So what I wanted to do was to give an historical perspective, but my own perspective as well. So the book is semi-autobiographical.
Wow, okay. So are you a little bit of Lisa, or is Lisa a little bit of you?
Yes, I'm a little bit of Lisa, and Lisa's a little bit of me.
Both. Great. So because there's a bit of you in the story then, was it, did that make it sort of easier to write in a way, or was it harder to maybe be honest about things?
It's more difficult because you have to sort of detach yourself. And I did write tributes to all of my friends who died of AIDS in the book. Mm. And so that was not an easy process. But I wanted to do it because I wanted to share the sensitivity and the creativity of these men that I knew. So it was a painful time, but it was a good time. It was a catharsis.
Yeah. So you said that you know, part of you wanted to share this story so that something like that wouldn't happen again. Do you believe that something like that wouldn't happen again? Do you think we've moved on since then considerably?
I think we've learned a lot. We've learned that there was a lot of prejudice associated with AIDS. For example, Dan Bradley was leading protests in front of the White House for 5 years regarding the AIDS crisis before we really started getting funding for AIDS from the federal government. And that's what I like about activism, that activists see the future, they can read it, and they get out there on the streets and spread the word, because our politicians seem to be a bit behind the times. It takes them a while. And, of course, they also had to deal with the prejudice that this was, in quotes, a homosexual disease at the time.
Mm. Well, yeah, the fact that Dan wanted to get it out there but felt that he needed to step down from his position in government in order to do that.
Now it's completely changed. Mm. You know, I'm married, and we got married a year and a half ago, and our family showed us tremendous support. Okay. And I'm out in my work, so it's a totally different environment. So I think the gay rights movement has really come a long way since the 1980s.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to forget it.
No.
Because a very conservative movement could come along that could closet all of us again.
Yeah.
So I just want people to be aware. And my friends liked the book because they didn't know about the history of Dan at the time.
So tell us why it's called The Purple Bowtie, can you? What's the significance of that?
Yes. The book is a hot, sexy lesbian novel, but it's not your typical lesbian novel. It has a metaphysical twist to it. And part of that twist is the discovery of the two protagonists that they may have had past lives. And the past lives that they experienced were famous lesbians in Paris, Natalie Barney and Romaine Brooks. Natalie Barney she ran a salon in the 20s and 30s. And it was a literary salon. You had Gertrude Stein with her art salon and Sylvia Beach with her literary salon. Natalie Barney's salon was loaded with literary figures, but also with a lot of lesbians. So in the book, the two protagonists basically want to validate their sexuality. So they get into their past lives because they want to understand themselves better. And they explore their masculine sides and feminine sides through their lovemaking and romance. They basically relive the romance of Natalie Barney and Romaine Brooks. So there's a lot about gender identity and sexual fantasy and how we use our imagination.
Fantastic. And why Purple Bowtie? You still haven't explained that.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The Purple Bowtie represents the different sexualities within the protagonist, Lisa. She's sitting at a cafe, and she's looking at her partner snaps a Polaroid of her, and she looks at it, and she sees four of herself in the mirror behind her, and it sparks something in her, and she opens up to her lover, and she says, sometimes I feel like a lesbian. Other times I feel like a straight woman. Other times this masculine quality comes out at me, and I feel like a man. And other times I want to be a gay man. So what they do, and her partner loves it, so they relive all of those sexualities in fantasy in the bedroom. So that's what the bow tie is all about. The fact that we can be very creative in our fantasies.
Interesting. So is there going to be a sequel by any chance?
I would love a sequel. I have one written in my head. I just want to see the reaction of the readers to the book.
Sure. Well, if people want more information on the book, there is a website, thepurplebowtiebook.com, and that is the title of the book, The Purple Bowtie, which people can buy. It'll be available on our website for people to purchase on talkradioeurope.com, and it's by Liz Reynolds, who we've been chatting to today. Liz, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you so much for what you do for writers.
TRE.
Talk Radio Europe. TRE.